My name is Justin Reed, and I'm a professor of Hebrew Bible or Old Testament at Louisville Seminary. The courses that I teach often involve the history of how Black people have engaged with the Bible and the consequences of biblical interpretation on Black people and other minoritized communities. And so, with that in mind, I was invited to share this curriculum on honoring God's diversity. From college campuses to businesses to television shows, wherever you look today, you can see this shining veneer of how our society has a value of diversity, whether it's racial and ethnic diversity, gender diversity, and diversity of sexualities, language diversity, or socioeconomic diversity. We see these examples, and yet the very people whose identities are paraded as evidence that we have a commitment to diversity, these are the same people that we see marching in the streets, demanding for change. So how can such a contrast exist? I believe that at the root, the problem is a fundamental misconception about what it truly means to value diversity. Valuing diversity needs to go beyond just acknowledging the existence of diversity. It needs to go beyond just tolerating diversity in spaces that are traditionally homogeneous. As followers of Christ, I believe that we're called to a much higher standard, to do much more than what our society celebrates when thinking about diversity. Personally, my Christianity is saturated with a concern for encountering God in those places and actions that Jesus mentions in Matthew 25. Around verse 30, Jesus starts a parable about how we find God when we feed the hungry, refresh the thirsty, house the immigrant, clothe the naked, care for the sick, and visit the imprisoned. My Christianity is motivated by a desire that I see in the Lord's Prayer to make God's kingdom a reality on earth as it is in heaven. That is, that we strive to make this world a reflection of the vision we have of heaven. And my Christianity is informed by the radical metamorphosis that Paul writes about in Romans 12, that we journey on, that the journey that we're on in following Christ is a way of breaking away from the patterns of this world by being transformed through the renewing of our mind. So rooted in this concern from Matthew 25 on those who are most marginalized, motivated by this desire to actually change the world according to the vision we have of heaven, and informed by the fact that we need to go deep into the patterns of this world that need to be fixed and how it's intertwined with the ways we think, I believe that those foundations push me towards understanding some profound ways that we as Christians can honor God's diversity. Those biblical foundations and legacies of Black Christians who have come before me have informed me to think about honoring diversity, focusing on transforming systems, ideas, and methods that are currently toxic into systems, ideas, and methods that can be healthy for all of the community, with a special focus on the people who are most marginalized. So with that in mind, I jumped into this curriculum with a starting point of looking at the diversity in the Bible itself, showing that we know the Bible is composed by dozens of authors who have different perspectives and provide different narratives, telling us their ideas on who God is, who we are, our relationship with God. And all of this shows that the Bible itself is an example of diversity. And with that example, I looked at Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, where we get two different stories of creation. You get two different pictures of who God is and who humanity are. And when we see those differences in these passages, some people are surprised, understandably. Some people might be taken back a little, get defensive. I hope that you're able to see that this diversity is there in the text, and that there is this different focus that can be beneficial to us, a focus that's broader in Genesis 1 on affirming the full humanity of all people. In Genesis 1:27, all humanity is created in the image of God, male and female. And in Genesis 2, something that's more specific. It's a text about two people, not all humanity, who are created from the dust of the earth, this brownish, reddish-brown Adamah, the soil, and the people are located in a specific place in Southwest Asia and Northeast Africa. There's that balance. And my point in noting that balance is that we can see honoring diversity as seeing the big picture while also focusing on a more narrow scope. And in that focus, what I'm trying to do in this curriculum is bring us 4 principles that can help us when we think about honoring God's diversity with that narrow focus. The first is that honoring God's diversity means that we specifically affirm the full humanity of the people who are marginalized. The second is that we center voices from the margin. A third is that we bring about liberation at the same time that we're challenging oppression. And the fourth is that we use our privileges to overturn inequality. So as we progress through this curriculum, we're going to focus on each of those 4 points.